Hey guys, in today's video, we're checking out an awesome wireless microphone system. This is the RE3 UHF Wireless system by Electro-Voice. So I've been a longtime user of EV speakers. In particular, my EV50s are my main PA system. I absolutely love that system. The Everse 8, I just did a review on. Electro-Voice has always been one of my favorites for speakers, but I actually have never really used any of their wireless microphone systems. And this one I've been using that for the last couple of weeks. And it's really an awesome system. And there's a twist with it, specifically with the frequency band, that I really like about this system. And I'm also going to be doing all of the recording on the microphone, because that's what actually this is right here. So I've used it for a while. I had to put it in a situation specifically where the wireless had to go an insane distance that I was not planning on, and it didn't drop out once. So especially after that moment, that was like the fourth gig that I did with it, I was like, well, this system is awesome. It pairs extremely well with the Everse 8, and that's kind of how I started looking into this system. The sound quality is awesome. The distance is great. It's very easy to use. Scan and sync is so simple. So I do want to say many thanks to Sweetwater for sending this over for me to check out for the channel and for sponsoring this video. All the opinions in this video are my own. If I didn't like it, I wouldn't feature it on the channel. But like I said, this mic has done so well over the last couple of weeks. I definitely like this system, and I'm going to keep using it. So there will be purchase links to purchase this down below in the description from Sweetwater if you find that this is a system that will work with your setup as well. So don't forget to subscribe if you want to see more music tech reviews and tutorials and stuff like this in the future. And let's go ahead and get started. All right, so here's the receiver right here. On the back, you just plug in the antennas, and it does have XLR and 1/4-inch outputs, so you can route it whichever way you need to. So turn it on, and it gives you a bunch of information already. You can see what group and channel it's set to, what frequency it's transmitting on. You can see that I don't have a microphone synced to it right now. You get an RF and AF meter, and you can see the gain staging as well. So I'll show you some of the controls here in a little bit. But the most important thing, and the first thing that I do when I get to a show, is I scan for the best channel. They make this insanely simple. You have this scan and sync button over here. So I'm going to push the scan button, and you can see, do I want to scan all groups? I can see my last scan, current group, or get out of here. Most of the time, you just want to scan all groups. So I'm going to scan all groups, push set to start, and it is now scanning. And when it's done, it will tell you which groups have how many channels available. So group 1 has 9 channels available. Group 2 has 9 channels available. So I'm going to set it to, let's just say, group 8, channel 1. And now it's saved. I hit return to get out. And you can see it is now set to group 8, channel 1. And that is on 653.250 megahertz. Now to sync with my microphone, you just push the sync button right here. It starts blinking. And you can see it has this infrared port right here on the microphone. Just put it right next to it. You can see it says sync. And now my microphone is set to the exact same frequency as the receiver. Insanely simple. And then you can see that the RF meter is all the way lit up. Every bar is up, which means that it's a very strong wireless signal. That's what you want to see. And then when I talk into it, check, check, 1, 2, hey, hey. You can see the audio meter and how loud it is. So it's not clipping, but let's go ahead and turn it down just a little bit. And I can set it if it's too hot or too quiet. Very easy to set the gain with these up and down buttons right here. Okay, so some of the settings in the receiver. So push the set button in order to get into the menu, and then use the up and down arrows to scroll through. But you can manually set the frequency if you want. So if you know what frequency you want to transmit on, you can do that manually here. You can also do that on the group and channels. This wireless system does have squelch control, so you can see it's set to 0 by default, but you can set it higher or lower. If you're not familiar with squelch, I'm going to post a definition on the screen. You can pause it now to read more about it. So everything here under the mic config settings, you can actually do on the microphone itself, at least most of it anyways. But it is pretty cool because what you can do is you can set it up on the receiver, and then when you do a sync to the transmitter, you can send all of that detail to the microphone. It's a little bit easier to set up on the receiver. So I'll show you that in a minute. So if you want to send the frequency and the sensitivity and the RF power and stuff like that, you would just check the boxes. If you don't, say, for example, you don't want to send the sensitivity when you sync, you could disable that. Pretty cool that it has that as an option. You can set the output level to mic or line, which is nice that they give you that option. This is really cool if you are using active antennas and you need to supply 12 volts to those antennas. You have a way to turn that on here. You won't need that if you're using just the standard antennas here, so I'm going to leave that off. You can also lock the device if you need to. You have a couple of different options for display options, like adjusting the contrast and such, and stuff like that. So a couple of settings on the microphone itself. This is the mic right here. So you twist right here to get access to the batteries. And it's cool because it actually stays attached. It's impossible. Well, I guess you could break it. So don't break it, but you open it up and it stays attached. So you put the batteries in and the switch to turn it on is hiding right back here. It's really tiny, which is great because that means it's a lot tougher to bump and accidentally turn it off. So I actually really like that. Pretty cool. So push the button in order to turn it on and you can see the display right here. So in order to access some of the menu controls, there's this little cover right here that you have to open up. And then there's a couple of controls just the same way as the receiver. You have set and then up and down. So hold set again in order to get access to change some of these menu options. So you can see you can change the frequency manually. You can change the group and channel manually if you want as well. You can set the sensitivity of the mic as well. So if you have a quiet speaker, you know, set it up louder. If you have someone who's really loud, turn it down. You do get RF power control, so you can set it to low or high. Most of the time you want that on low unless you're going really long distances. You have auto off, which I don't want it to turn off by itself. Some people might though. And you have a way to lock the controls as well. And that's basically it. And it is really nice that it gives you a battery indicator up here as well. And again, one of the main reasons I was interested in this system is because it pairs so well with the Everse 8, which again, I did a dedicated review on. This is probably the best battery-powered speaker I've ever used. I love this thing, and one of the most brilliant things about it is it has this DC output right here to power a wireless microphone system. So it comes with this cable. So this battery-powered speaker is sending the power to the receiver. I literally don't need to plug anything else in, and it powers the receiver. It also has this optional tray that you can put on top. If you do ceremonies for weddings or anything like that, this is an absolute no-brainer. This is just such a smart setup, and it pairs perfectly with the Everse 8. So be sure to watch my video on the Everse 8 if you haven't seen it already. It's one of my favorite portable PA speakers I've ever used. Okay, so I mentioned something about the frequency. So this is the twist that I was talking about. So the thing that's cool about this system is that specifically there's 3 different frequency bands that you can get, and one of them is the 6M band. So this one in particular operates in the 600 megahertz frequency from 653 to 663. And if you're like me, before I found out about this system, you were like, well, I thought that the FCC bought all of those and you are no longer allowed to use anything above 600 megahertz. That's true. So a while back, the FCC said you can no longer use wireless microphones above 600, specifically 608. So in the United States, the legal frequency range is from 470 to 608 megahertz for the UHF frequency range. I did find out, and I don't know how I didn't know this, the FCC did specifically leave this frequency range in order for wireless mics to be used. So that's what's cool about this system, is that it operates in that frequency range, again, from 653 to 663. So that is really cool because there's not very many mics that operate in this frequency range. So a wireless system has to find a frequency to transmit on, and then the receiver receives the signal on that frequency. So the thing is, if you play in an area where, you know, say, for example, 500 megahertz is very crowded, and you only have a small range of channels that you can find a clear signal on, if it's crowded and it's already taken, you can't use your wireless at that show. But what's really cool about this one is that this, as far as I know, this is the only wireless microphone system that I've seen that operates in this frequency range. Correct me in the comments if I'm wrong on that, but this is the only one that I know. And the thing that's cool about this is that every gig that I've done with this one, when I do a scan, because I scan at every show, it has just found all of the channels. It's just that all of these channels are available, which means that it's a very unused frequency range, which means that it is very, very likely that your wireless mics are always going to work. Very cool. I really like that, and that's why I specifically was interested in checking this out, along with also being a longtime fan of EV speakers. They do have other frequency ranges as well within the standard UHF frequency range, and I'll get to that one a little bit later. But I did want to specifically mention that 6M band because that's really, really cool, and I like that. Okay, so for pricing and options, so the RE3 with the ND76 microphone is $659 as the time of shooting. There is also another option. You can get the ND96 wireless mic if you're interested in that one, and that one's going to cost you $739. And there is also an option to get this with a lav mic with a body pack if you're interested in that as well, and that goes for $659 as well. So on the Sweetwater website, you can see you can actually choose a different frequency. So if you want the one that is in that 6 600 megahertz range from 653 to 663, like the one I have, you want to make sure that you get the 6M band. If you want that frequency specifically, like I did, you have to make sure it's the 6M band. However, if you're looking for one of the other ones, it also has the 5H band and the 5L band. So I will post purchase links down below to all of these so you can purchase them from Sweetwater yourself, and you can make the decision of which one's best for you and your needs. Also, if you're not familiar with frequencies, groups, and bands and stuff like that, I do have a whole video explaining that in depth. So check out that video if you're interested in finding out more. So like I said, I've been using this at the last couple of shows that I've done over the last couple of weeks. I used it at a couple of shows. I had one of my drummers use it at a show. I had another one of my guitar players use it at a show. I've used it for speeches, which I'm going to get to because that was the really big test. It sounds really great. I mean, you've been listening to it this entire time. The entire audio has been recorded on this microphone. Funny story, one of the shows that we did with this, actually the first one that I did with it, it was at an adult night at a water park, and we got a lazy river circle pit going. That's a new one for me. I've never seen that happen before, but you can see that this mic is in there. Really fun show. So the big test for me for this one was a show that I did a couple of weeks ago where my band performed, and I was also in charge of, setting up a few mics for people to do speeches. It was like a corporate event. They were having a 90s party. They hired my 90s band to play. And part of the deal was that they needed just a microphone for speeches and stuff like that. One of the things that wasn't communicated with us is that they wanted it to go like from the stage where it would go outside this tent and then way, way far away. One of the things about wireless is that the people really absorb wireless signals. So sometimes, especially if you do like a sound check and it sounds fine and the transmitter's, like far away in like an empty venue, but then a bunch of people show up and then your wireless doesn't work. You're like, what's going on? It's because those bodies are absorbing that wireless signal, and that's what makes it cut out. So I was like, oh, this is not going to be good because it had to go through a body of people, and it had to go really far out because they took the microphone around and they were walking all around and doing a bunch of awards and stuff like that. This mic never cut out once. I don't think the footage really shows how far this microphone had to go, but the fact that it was able to transmit without a single dropout with all those bodies in the way was, to me, the final test where I was like, okay, this microphone system is awesome. It sounds great. It's got great features. It's very easy to set up, and it can survive one of the harshest wireless conditions that I've seen. That's pretty awesome, and I'm incredibly grateful that I have this in my arsenal now. This pairs so well with the Everse 8. Again, for any ceremony thing that I do, because I'll run sound for weddings, for ceremonies. It's wedding season right now. This will always be the microphone. I pretty much never have to worry about it cutting out. I mean, you never say never. We've seen Metallica's microphones cut out. The fact that it can go up on top of the speaker, it's completely in line of sight from the transmitter to the receiver. It's in a frequency band that hardly anyone uses, so I'm almost always able to find a clear signal. It's about as bulletproof as it gets. Really, really incredible. Be sure to watch my video on 5 common mistakes when using wireless gear. I think it's actually important to understand that. All 5 of those, except for one, I've made myself over the years. It's definitely worth knowing, so check out that video if you're interested. But overall, this microphone is awesome. I really like it. I'm going to continue to use it. Many thanks to Sweetwater for sending this over to check out. Again, there will be purchase links to purchase this down below from Sweetwater. So if you're interested in getting this for yourself, using those links is a free way to support the channel at no extra cost to you. So I would appreciate it. Well, that's basically it. If you guys found this video helpful, do me a favor and just hit the thumbs up button. It does a ton to support my channel, and I would appreciate it. Don't forget to check out my video on the Electro-Voice Everse 8. That is my favorite battery-powered PA speaker that I've used. It's a great, great system and definitely worth checking out. And also don't forget to check out my video on 5 common mistakes when using wireless gear. I think it's definitely important to understand these mistakes because I see them happening all the time, including with myself when I first started using wireless. So check out both of those videos by clicking the links on your screen now. Thank you guys again for watching. If you guys have any other cool gear you want me to check out, please leave them as a comment down below. Again, many thanks to Sweetwater for sending this over. I've been a fan of Electro-Voice for a long time, and I was super stoked to get this, so thank you again. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram at Scott Ewell Music. I post a lot of my gig stuff and my stories there. Thank you guys again for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.